Hey everybody, it's Lord Volkhark, and today on May 5th, it has been an awesome day. Why? Because I got a chance to do something with a lovely family member, and I got to do something that will actually give me some shout out that I can do to you guys, or something I can share included with you guys. So what am I here to share? Well, there's my official ticket. If you can't tell, it was Captain America, uh, Captain America Civil War in 3D, matter of fact, which, by the way, spoilers are going to be here. So if you're watching right now, there is a spoiler warning that I said. My secondary is like to say is because we've paid for this movie, I do not have any paid criticisms. I will not be using this as a monetary. I have no backing for anything involving the movie, and it's already been released, so I have no lockout for any of this in detail and term. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the movie, because there's nothing that I am doing as a paid individual or a supportive individual to this movie. I am just reviewing this movie. And I want to review the shit out of this. So, I've already seen it. Let's click out of this because, as you can see, tickets there. I saw it much earlier today at 7 p.m. for a day release, which was actually a big surprise for an early day release. So there's the movie. You can watch the trailer. I'm going to give you some really details about this. Some really screwed up details about this, guys. Just because I am... Oh my god, I can't believe they did this shit. I can't believe it. So where do we start? Let's start from the beginning in points. And by the way, again, this is going to be a spoiler, so if you haven't seen the movie, if you plan to go see the movie, you might want to not be in here. So the beginning led up to the Winter Soldier reappearing. This character reappearing, but in 1991. Fast forward a little bit, he kills Tony Stark's parents. Now, anybody that didn't actually figure this out in the beginning to where it is near the end, that it reveals, oh look, there's the faces. The super serum, the blue packets that he pulls out of the back of the fucking car is super serum. Who the fuck else is carrying the super serum? And also, why the hell is Tony Stark, the rich playboy, got the super serum in his car? Questions. Anybody else, going why over and over again? I am. I mean, I have no idea why he would be like this. So we just scoot forward and we find out that they're now angry because the super soldiers, and there is technically only one super soldier. The Winter Soldier, let me give you the details, is a human, as he should be. Only one of them went through the process of becoming a super soldier, and that's Captain America. But you see, he's not a super soldier. He just was progressed forward. His limitations are kind of on a 50-50 scale, but we have an understanding that you could fucking shoot the guy and he would die. That should be a good memory of that. Because a fight goes down to get a virus supposedly stole by the mercenary from the movie before with the Avengers. And it turns out it leads to collateral damage. Now, this is the first time ever for such character design in the DC universe, in a movie term, did they bring up the shit of collateral damage. Even in the cartoons for Batman and Superman and, just the Justice League, they slightly bring up collateral damage, but they don't... Well, sorry, Justice Legion? Yeah. Because by the time they actually do bring up collateral damage, there was a whole lot of them in one set and everything like that. So guys, you gotta think of that line. They barely bring it up. Booster Gold is the episode, if you ever get to look at it and watch it. Booster Gold just happens to be in crowd control. There's very little detail of how much they actually care about the crowd. They're turning over vehicles. They're still doing this massive battle. Now, people always equate the fact that superheroes are great, but they don't seem to realize that their battlefields are within our homes or within our residences that we've always considered protective. And a superhero in a moment reveals that that is not true. So, an explosive goes off in Africa, which, by the way, they focused on Africa. I'm blown away. Because they could have just kind of left the story up in the fucking air. But, you know, the virus place is supposedly in Africa. Yeah, that was... I'm not going to lie. That's not going to happen. Because Africa would have sold it. Didn't matter what side of Africa it was in. That's one of those national areas that if they had something very lethal in the area, they would probably sell it to make money. Their sanctions and shit are not that strong, but we couldn't go in and force our way in because they have British kind of support, and because there's been massive support for a lot of African areas. So if we ever stepped in, be like, look, you're gonna have to fix this because we're gonna put this lethal weapon in place here, and then they just started selling the lethal weapon shit for money, and we'd be like, okay, you can't do that, and try to bring in a military force, we would look like shit because it's actually Africa, guys. I mean, what personifies Africa other than poor region for you and me? Nothing else looks like, in my personal vision of Africa, that says rich region that you can go fuck up. But I mean, we love to, right now, we're really doing a pretty good job in a poor region anyway, because it was once a rich region that got fucked up by the people before us. Neither here nor there. Alright, so collateral damage goes down, and they want to fix that problem. And for some reason, Tony Stark, the drunk ass rich man, has decided they will fix that with an agreement by the nation they happen to have killed a lot of delegates for, which happened to be where the Black Panther came from. Which, by the way, if anybody actually knows the lore of Black Panther, his namesake is very close. The reason being because they got this shit raped out of them for mining purposes for the metal ore that they had in their location. Why? Because they're the only location on Earth that has that ore. It actually would make sense of why Germany at one point in time in World War II went to parts of Africa, but it's also because there was gold there. So it's kind of a quest story back to that. Anywho, they were originally a closed nation. Now we're looking at them. Oh, no. They're open. They're talking to the UN. They force the UN. Yada, yada, yada. No, they do not. If you've ever listened to a UN discussion, the actual controlling floor members are nowhere near the African delegates. Even the white side of Africa. Reason being because, well, right now we're running it. Second off, because the French run the fuck out of it, and pretty much anybody that's not a third world country and large portions of its sections and has a lot of money. Hey, by the way, how's it going, Cookie Monster? Runs the delegation for the representation of the world. You know, it doesn't work fully because money can flood the floor. And money controls the suggestions for what we should do for the planet Earth. And money doesn't work well when we try to help people all the time. By the way, shout out to Cookie Monster. He's in here despite spoilers are going on. He or she is in here despite spoilers are going on. I hope I'm doing this well, by the way. Again, I'm not monetizing this video. I will not be trying to seek anything of monetary value, in my view, from any of this. I have seen this movie. I paid to see this movie. I have seen this movie in an open depiction. Nothing stops me from talking about this. If you don't want to hear it, please leave now again, because you've probably already heard too far. Nonetheless, in the middle of the actual actual discussion that went on for the UN to now regulate what the superheroes can do under an agreement of what the UN and a delegation of agreement for the UN control have the right to say they can or cannot do. Anybody remember Shield? Shield was an American thing. And then Shield in the last movie was discovered to be actually Hydra, reformed and everything else into a new namesake, but still Hydra. And you know what? If that happened, why the fuck would you trust the UN? I would. Would you? I would. I mean, would you? The UN would be then the most obvious to be corrupted under that term. So, eh? And, you know, to my eyes, it would have been. Matter of fact, it was being used, which, in my view, the individual there, and I have to look up the name, that turns out to be the man that comes and speaks to all the Avengers. He's now putting up as a force of their director over them and everything like that, might have been the guy who wants to lock up Bruce Banner, the Hulk. I really think it was. I have to look at the name and look it up and make sure if I'm right or not. But I think I might have been right. I think the individual who had a prison, by the way, already built, was looking to lock up the Hulk, which would be really what he'll end up doing. But they didn't really bring that up because the Hulk's missing. And I think it's because the actor really was like, okay, look, I have another movie I need to do. Can't do this one, yada yada yada. Cool. But you know, but kind of left up in the air and everything else. So let's move on. They were told they would have to agree to this. If they do not sign these paperwork, it would not go down. That's not how a hero would ever work, by the way. One nation leading a hero would be the nation leading with God in front of them. And for people who don't understand, they would say, oh, that's a good thing in biblical terms. No, you don't understand. God created a planet if he is real. And for him to pick one portion of that planet to be the one that he agrees with is insanity, because he created the whole of the planet, not just that one portion. So he would understand above anything else, or any higher being would understand above anything else, that it supports the whole planet and disapproves of the whole planet for actions that are repeated despite cultural differences. And I hope that makes sense. So the sanction with the UN looks better than it being Captain America led by by American government. But I can tell you right now, if they had said it that way, no one could have said a damn thing against it. Almost all, well, matter of fact, all of the superheroes basically in this movie are primarily under American control or heavy American supporters. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying this is a reality. What does that mean? That means at any moment they could have just said it was, the American president get to decide things. But instead they said the UN. I'm very impressed by that. That is actually an impression, because it means some other nations could potentially say things. But I also understand that a superhero would have to look you in the face, and say, no, I will not follow your rule. And the reason that he would do that, he or she would do that, is because not one person has the right to choose what is right and wrong. Not one person. The collective pretty much does because we're not alone. And that is a truth. When you can look at a whole crowd of people and you ask them, is murder okay for between people? And they say no. There's your sign of crowd rule working. And it's very rare that crowd rule works all the time. Because when you look at them and go, okay, what about killing these cows in mass? Well, they're food. Okay, what if we kill them cruelly just so we can make it quicker? Well, no, that's not right. But you're willing to eat them. Yes. That is crowd rule stuck in the middle of choices and individual, just everything. I mean, no point did, even in the biblical terms, because I'm in the United States, I'm just going to go with what I was taught as a God system in the basic area of the United States. I'm going to say basic area, Texas or Bible Belt. It's not as much as references. There's a lot of different religions close, but they're not in high, we're not as much in high representation where I grew up. And we only found it up to these points of hate right now. If you were to take what the Bible says, I'm going to use that one. I'm not a religious person, really. That we have dominion over the animals. As a term of we have dominion over the animals, not to eat them, because it never said eat them, then it would mean something completely we did wrong. But that's going to be ignored. Crowd rule, also because animals taste great and it's been doing it for centuries. We can't improve something, right? We didn't farm and change our society, right? Farming didn't change us. Yes, it did. Massive hint. Fire and farming. Fire and farming. Just growth. Anyway, so about this movie. What would I say about this movie? Just the argument of, by the way, a bomb goes off and kills everybody in the UN right before they could, kills most of the people in the UN delegation. Happens to be the guy from Black Panther's nation. That's actually his father. He was the leadership at the time. Probably wasn't working as the Black Panther at the time because I'm pretty sure he was too old, maybe. Kind of looked like he was too old, but hey, the young one automatically knew where the suit was and it fit him and it had vibranium. And it's just the same thing as Captain America's shield, and he's using vibranium as the claws. And let me give you the ultimate thing that actually annoys me about most of these characteristics. They showed so close to the logical weaknesses of these superheroes. Because I'm going to give you a hint. Even though Captain America is supposedly super strong, he's not Superman, unholy God strong over here. I'm a little bit above human strong, and I don't understand it, and my balance is kind of 50-50 on that, and I have one weapon, and I can use a gun, and I don't have body armor, really. Hence the reason I use a shield. All you have to do, and it even depicted this, Spider-Man, you know what, to be honest, there's something I want to talk about Spider-Man, but we're going to include this. Spider-Man was told by Iron Man, I'm going to keep saying they're just the characters' names in the uniforms and the superheroes kind of a delegation. By Tony Stark. You could be happy, Tony Stark. You know what? He's Iron Man. He delegates himself into a superhero. His name is Iron Man. If you want to say it's Tony Stark constantly, okay, then we just need to change the comic books and be like, it's Tony Stark in the iron suit. That didn't sound that good. Iron Man. Anyway, Tony Stark says, attack your feet. That's Spider-Man quoted directly. By the way, it's not Spider-Man, it's Spider-Kid, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And he does. And when he attacked his feet, he threw him off. You know why? Because all it would have taken is a bullet in the fucker's leg to stop him. He's got a shield. Good. The shield doesn't go from foot to goddamn head. It's right here and where I move it. So if I stop shooting at his shield when he's hiding behind it to protect against bullets, and I shoot at his leg because he's now lifted to his chest area, I could hurt him. Never happens. Why? Because they needed to be infallible. But infallible was questioned a lot in this movie, and that impressed me. There's a lot of things that did not impress me. Just a lot. Even the wing thing. Okay, now the guy who's got the freaking wings and is the flight suit. He's the only man who's ever had this flight suit. I'm like, didn't you just say he was a ranger and he supposedly learned this from being in ranger school? So does that mean that all the rangers learned how to do this? And where the fuck are the rest of the rangers with the suit? I just want to say that. Where are the rest of the rangers that have this suit? Why is he the only one in this suit? Let me repeat that. Why is he the only one in this suit? Anyway, he's blocking bullets. And it's just because they blocking bullets as long as they only fire within this range. He's doing the same thing as Captain America. And I'm just like, somebody shoot him in the leg. Please, God, shoot him in the leg. Shoot it with some more force. You know what? Captain America's got a shield that would dissipate force by its design. But what if we shot him with some fucking spread shot? Okay? Then that would mean, then it would densify and just go around it. And that would mean that some of the bullets would end up in his leg. Said. I said it. I said it that way. I said it. Anywho. That was not the point of this. That was not the point of this. So, it'd be better if I talked about things I did like for a little bit. That's going to give me some less stress. Things I did like. Because they made Spider-Man, not a Spider-Man, so Spider-Kid, young, it's potential that they're going to bring in the sidekicks. And I say it's potential because it depends on how the critics take young Spider-Man. Now, if they don't say anything about young Spider-Man being a child and brought in to fight full-grown men, then would it be an issue if Robin, a child, came in and fought full-grown men, shooting guns and things like that? I say this because it looks so logical. And I'm hoping that's what it will lead up to. I'm not going to say that it was a good thing that there was ever young in the battlefield. But for the battlefield that is for superheroes, there is no line between civilization and a battlefield. Their battlefields are the homes of everybody. Always have been. To just X-Men's battlefield to protect themselves from, persecution for being X-Men. These are the fights that happen, and we ignore it like it's logical. And we just hope nobody dies. You realize this entire story, in which, by the way, the villain did this. Let me give this away. Again, spoiler alert. The villain did all of this because his family died when that landmass was lifted and a building crushed them. Do you realize how many people died because there was so few people to stop all the death? And it's because superheroes are not gods. It's not even Superman. It's truly a god. He cannot help everybody, and that's lightly spoken of. Should be spoken of more. Purposely, his father died to defend, hide his son's identity. Stupidly. In one of the movies that actually, went along with the current pattern movies. And he should have realized it hurt his son more than anything else. But, that's not this movie right now. But anyway, that's the logical sense. We don't hear a conversation about Captain America's parents or the Winter Soldier's parents. They don't go to find them. They don't stand over their grave. It's the same concept of they don't pee or you go use the restroom. It just exists perfectly. It's a representation of the hero. And that's why I like Spawn and a little bit of X-Men more, because they have a dirty side. They are these people that are real. And then when you see these guys, these are personifications of perfection. The man's name is Captain America. So I just went off the tangent again. I went from, over here talking about Kid Spider-Man to Captain America again. The man's name is Captain America. He's supposed to personify what is America. The only thing they did this time around that made him personify what is Americans, he's poor. He's poor. Still is poor. He's pretty much ill-knowledged. Knows nothing about the world around him. He'd make a great factory worker. That's who he is. Is that who our superhero is supposed to be? Is Captain America supposed to be this normal person almost to make us want to be like him? I mean, the hits this man took going into the wall, just being smacked around, there's no bruising, there's no, oh, that hurt. No, it's just, it happened. And that's one thing that drove me nuts. Spider-Man, or Spider-Kid, because I'm going to call him Spider-Kid, in the end, for his end scene, and they made sure he didn't show off like bleeding or anything like that, he said, "You're done fighting." You have to realize, he finally did agree that he was done fighting. He was hurt. And the massive battle that went on between Captain America and Tony Stark and the Winter Soldier, they bled on their faces, and there was warning of laceration and things like that. But they kept going. But, this kid stopped and stuttered. Things like that went on. There was a representation of pain was really brought. They could take hits from Tony Stark metal. Are you shitting me? That metal fist would have broke the fuck out of somebody's jaw. And yet, here it is, oh, no, I'm fine, I can still fight, blah, blah, blah. Your jaw would be broken, your teeth would be on the fucking floor. You had no armor. The only one that had armor that really didn't take that many hits, besides Tony Stark, what turned out to be Black Panther, was using vibranium in his body armor, or the suit that he was wearing. And I only wonder where that kind of ended, by the way. So I'm pretty sure it wasn't vibranium everywhere across, and I'm pretty sure that probably hurt a little bit. Hell, they fell 3 stories, got the fuck back up. They fell 2 stories, got the hell back up. Someone got slammed to the wall. They still were able to apparently rotate and land on the floor instead of body injuries. Physical reality. God damn it, Limp away from the battle. Don't be a perfect god when you're not. Captain America didn't limp away. Winter Soldier did. He got his arm fucking blown off. The metal one. And that was fine, because look, they didn't do the flesh one. They did the flesh one, it freaked people out. Holy fuck, he lost his other arm. He'd been bleeding out, and then what are we to, how do we keep him from dying in moments when there's no medical crew around? And pretty sure Tony Stark would have blown up their ship, because if he was stupid, he didn't. Kind of shit, okay? These are the things that drive me the hell nuts, and this movie was bleeding with it. And then there was good things, like trying to humanize them a little bit, but not fully. And the ones that were the human the most got abused. Hell, finding out that Scarlet Witch was being held pretty much against her will because they were afraid what she could do. And I'm like, are you serious? You're afraid what she can do, but damn it, if Stark armor is safe after, some cybernetic organism came into existence and hacked it? Really? I love the Vision's even term, well, because of things have happened, things have become progressively more and more violent, and it could be because we invite it. And you know what? No, I would say it's because it's the rational evolution of things. The harder it is for someone to get away from something, the more they have to do to reach the goal. This stands true with crime in modern terms. Crime is never going to be defeated because crime's existence is a constant because it must be. Without crime, there is no good. And without good, there is no crime. These two weigh in the same scale together. If it didn't, tomorrow, if there was no crime, there would be no police officers. There'd be no need for guns. We'd be free and happy. Fire could still happen, but we'd have enough people to employ to do that now. We wouldn't have an army standing to fight against some enemy. These are things that are real. There is a scale. It's not exactly balanced, but fuck, it is real. To try to deny it is to ignore the fact that it's right in front of you. And I just want to say it like that. That's what this movie looks like to me. We were trying to ignore the fact that it was right in front of us instead of what it really is. It is a failure to make human what they wanted to be gods. Hell, they used the word civil war. There was nothing civil about it. If they hadn't at the last moment pulled everybody away from the airport they had a battle at, they would have slaughtered the shit out of people. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure they still hurt a ton of people with all of the other fighting that went on. I mean, that's got to be ridiculous amount of people that got hurt or lost money and then, just fell into horrible realities and everything. I'm taking my shoes off as I go along. I'm getting comfortable, guys. But we would never say that. And I think that's a bad thing. We'll never say that because if we did, we would have to accept we do that outside of these inhuman moments. We only see it as our human moments are always perfect. Our humanity is always a perfect representation. And it's not. And I am thankful it is not. Because if it was, it'd be very, very scary of a thought. At least personally. It'd be very scary of a thought. Personally. It's really, really discomforting to know that at any moment that it considered itself perfect, that the world considered itself perfect. It's not. It is the ball that we live on that has shifting gravity, that has bad moments. And this is, what this movie should have personified more. The end result is, actuality, the perfect DC universe is going to be at war. And that is not a bad thing. They need this war. I think they're going to have to turn around and look at it and go, do I need the United States government, which is the representation of what is the most governmental power in the DC universe, the United States government. Why? Because this was written in the United States. Again, I live in the United States. I just see the ball. I see I live on one part of the globe, but I understand that I also live on the globe. and that we shouldn't just see the globe. We should see the whole. I mean, see the one part of it. We see the whole of it. Without that, we would all die. Truth. This From this, I hope a lot of things come. One, I kind of hope that finally the sidekicks will come out of the darkness, and sidekicks can exist. Why I feel the sidekicks have a better story than the superheroes, because the sidekicks are not the gods. They are the ones following alongside of them, trailing behind, and doing their damnedest to be a part of it, and that represents us more. Two, I'm hoping they'll finally lead a storyline that leads to more X-Men references, because they really should just, go with the mutants exist. But I think the reason they don't want to is because then they'd have to start paying for people, paying for some copyrights, and I think that's actually the reason why certain things are not included, by the way, across. If you ever really look it up, I bet you can find a copyright dispute for this, copyright dispute for this, yada yada yada. This hinders their creation. It does not hinder our creation. That's the reason I told everybody I am not going to monetize this section. I'm just going to do this. Talk about it and everything else. The end of the movie was nothing extra really thrown with detail, other than the showing of there's going to be the Black Panther movie. And you know what? I've known the Black Panther's been movies coming, I want to say almost 7 or 8 months now. And the reason I say it like that is because I bought a comic book long before at a trade show that looked like in good temperament, that I still haven't been able to prove if it was an older one, for Black Panther. And the reason I did that is because I knew there was going to be a swing in Black Panther popularity, and I figured I could sell it at the time of the sudden swing of Black Panther popularity. Whether or not I can, meh. Whether or not I do, kind of meh on the same thing. I just kind of wanted to own what looked like also an older comic book. But I also have my series that I enjoy, and they're not exactly hero series. So guys, that's also why this is kind of lead to tear apart the hero. This is the important thing for me. This is how I detail it out, and this I want to give and share and everything like that. And it kind of, there's some people who have been in the room. No one has actually asked questions. So that's kind of regrettable. I wish you guys